Many of the questions that we get on this channel have to do with dealing with aggressive behavior in children. We've got 4 specific C words that will help you to wrap your head around this.
Aggressive behavior in children.
It happens.
Is that a thing?
I know, right?
All right, you mentioned that maybe there are some C words that are going to help us. Can you elaborate?
Contain.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Sometimes you can't stop it. Sometimes that aggressive behavior just bubbles out of nowhere, and all you can possibly do with it is to contain it. How you contain it depends on the maturity of the child.
Okay, yeah, the stage they're in, right?
The stage and the age.
Okay.
Now, a lot of times we just forget about age and we talk about stage, but on this one, I think it's important to consider both. For example, let's say you have a very aggressive 2-year-old.
Okay.
All right? Can you just
I've seen
picture
that.
this?
I
Little
can picture
kids
that.
just blowing up all over the place.
Okay.
Now, compare that to a very aggressive 17-year-old.
Yeah. There's a big difference because of the physical
Exactly.
nature.
So containment depends on the maturity of that child and the size and dimensions of that child,
Okay.
because you're not going to be able to contain that aggressive behavior with a 17-year-old in the same way. For a toddler, for a young one, a little, you can physically pick them up, put them on your lap, and gently restrain them. Now, do this carefully because some people get into trouble with this. You don't want to do this when you're angry, when you're out of control, but you can physically restrain them. Now, don't try that with your 17-year-old football player son.
That probably won't work very well.
Not for you.
So how do we contain an older child that's out of control?
Sometimes that containment has to do with putting it in a place where it can happen. Now, this gets back to the stage of your child, because if they're not cooperating with you, you got a different problem than if they are. If they are cooperating, you can say, sweetie, you need to go outside for this episode. Take it outside, okay? And they storm out the door. Well, at least they're cooperating with you.
Right.
Now you've just contained it. You've put it outside of your home. If they're not cooperating with you, your best bet on containment is moving you.
I was going to say remove yourself.
Exactly. Which is a good intervention too.
Right.
But that's the first C, contain.
The next C word is calm. The whole aggression from a small child, well, for any child, is usually that there's just so much adrenaline running through them at that moment. It's almost like there's a fight or flight pattern going on. So all the adrenaline is coming out. What you'll need to do is kind of get to the calm stage. You got to get past the flooding of the emotions. So you can use distraction, you can use some breathing exercises, you can use some calming things. You know, who was it just the other day? My daughter was babysitting and the little kid said, I've just got to calm myself a minute, and took off to their bedroom. You know, they had learned that in their family that they should take a moment, step back, and get calm when they get their emotions going.
This implies some things also about what you've been doing to educate your children about self-soothing. This child that you mentioned, for example, had been taught that when you're emotionally out of control or flooded or upset, you're not doing very good thinking, so you have to take a little time out in order to make that happen. You mentioned a couple of things like breathing, distractions. Physical activity can help with this. You might just take your child of any age and say, let's go for a little walk to calm down. The walking is actually good for purging some of those chemicals out of the system, getting to that state of calm. And that's going to be important for some of the next steps. You can also do this with a teenager. I remember doing this with some of our kids when they were at that phase, and I would just say, hey buddy, let's go take a walk. Let's just take a quick walk together. Okay? So those are some good strategies for calm.
Good.
The next C is for consequences. And this is such an important aspect of parenting. Appropriate consequences for the aggressive behavior.
Right. You know, and that's such a tricky thing because you can't really always make them feel like completely natural consequences because that's maybe not safe, you know, for the aggression and things like that. So you just want to find it appropriate to the behavior. You know, you don't want to give one of the most strict consequences in the whole world when all they did was bump their sister and she cried or something, right?
And while it's admittedly an aggressive act, it's not the same as full-out punching somebody in the nose, giving them a black eye, something like that.
We're admitting right up front that this is a little bit of a subjective call here.
Oh.
Just kind of look it through, and that's where your team comes in handy. Maybe it's good to talk to them about
Well,
that.
hello, welcome to parenting. It's really more of an art than a science.
It's so true.
Have you noticed? And we're trying to help you with the artistic flair here as you use your discretion and judgment, but also make those consequences appropriate for your child. Notice I said appropriate. Sometimes kids are clamoring for, well, that's not fair. He got that and I only got this, or whatever, right? We're not going for fair. We're going for appropriate.
Right. The next C is really time sensitive, and here's the reason. You want to correct the behavior, but you really cannot do it in the moment of the emotion.
Right.
The child is not even close to ready to process at that point. So just realize you do want to correct and talk through the event, maybe the antecedent, what was happening right before the outburst, how did the outburst affect themselves, how did it affect the people around them, and talk about what comes next, how could you have done it differently, those types of things. So those are really good. It's just so important to think about it in the calm afterwards.
Vicky, I'm so glad that you mentioned the timing part, because the flooding that we talked about earlier that's contributing to the aggressive behavior to start with is also messing with their little minds.
Yeah. It's pulled all the blood flow away from the thinking part of the brain. And so we got to wait until they've gotten a little bit calm and their whole brain is back functioning.
So quick review of these 4 C words. Contain. See if you can put it in a place, because you can't always control whether it's happening or not. Calm, which is important as a prerequisite to the other 2 that we're talking about here, which are consequences and correction. We're going to use all of those together to address this aggressive behavior. We've also got another video that you might want to watch next. You can click to it right up there. It's about how to calm an angry child. You'll see some other ideas in that video that I think will contribute to what we just talked about. Hope you found that helpful. We are so honored to be on your team. This is fun for us. I know it's not always fun when you're in the trenches, but we can help you. Would you go to the description down below, click on the link that gets you a free parenting breakthrough call. You'll get to join with a member of our team to get specific about what you're working on.
Street alone. Her head was down, face locked onto her phone.